Now, a lot of billionaires have very cool material goods, huge houses, planes, automobiles, trips, experiences. But if you didn't know what they looked like, you typically wouldn't notice them when you walk down the street.
In this video, we are going to take a look at I Made 94 Billionaires. Here's 6 things I learned from Ryan Serhant. Surely we can all learn from billionaires, especially if your goal is to start your own online business, for instance, and to get to 10k a month, 20k a month, even all the way up to $100,000 a month. So let's find out what he learned after working closely with billionaires.
There are currently 2,640 billionaires in the world that we know of. And on this phone are 94 of them. I have 94 billionaires in my contacts.
You know, some people are going to flex about having a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, flying private. This guy can flex about having 94 billionaires in his phone contacts. What do you think? Is that a crazy flex? Let me know in the comments down below.
They're all my mentors, and I've learned a lot from working with these people, or ways that they interact with people, ways that they communicate, ways they think about life, business, even working out. And because I've done real estate deals with many of these billionaires, I've learned certain habits and mindsets that they have that allow them to operate on a completely different level from most people.
Most billionaires and even most millionaires, they have a completely different way of viewing the world than most people do. Now, did you know that most billionaires and most millionaires, they are technically speaking self-made? Now, we can argue on what it means to be self-made, but for most of them, they did not inherit their wealth directly. They had to build it in some way, usually by starting a business. For some, it's going to be real estate investments or even stock market investments. But the best way to become a millionaire or even a billionaire is to have a company that is worth millions or billions of dollars. I mean, just take a look at any billionaire. They're not a billionaire because they have a few rental units in real estate. To give you an example, Kylie Jenner became a billionaire at literally 21 years old. I mean, that's crazy, 21 years old, thanks to her cosmetics brand. Now, fair enough, the reason she was able to have that kind of success, it was because of a strong personal brand. The public already knew her and her family, so she had a massive unfair advantage. But the truth is that we all have our own unfair advantage, and if you don't know what yours is, you simply haven't found it yet. But just like some people are naturally more intelligent, or some people have naturally more talent in certain fields, you too have one specific unfair advantage. It can be that you learn things faster than others, that you have a higher IQ, or that you're better at communicating with other people. Bottom line, everybody has things that they're great at and things that they suck at. But just imagine how much this guy has learned if he has been around billionaires for years, if he's worked with them closely, and if some of them even became his friends. And that's funny because he mentioned working out. And you might think, okay, well, what's the difference between a regular person working out and a billionaire working out? What's the big deal here? But in reality, the billionaire, they're not going to work out the same way that the average person will. And by that, I'm not even speaking about intensity or how hard they push themselves during the workout. But for instance, billionaires are often going to work out first thing in the morning. For instance, the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, is out of bed at 5 a.m. and he completes a 7-minute workout 3 times. Bill Gates starts his day with cardio. CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, is up by 3:45 a.m. and he's at the gym at 5 a.m. Now, this isn't to say that if this is what you do as well, if you work out first thing in the morning and you get up early, you'll become a billionaire, because obviously there is so much more that goes into being a billionaire. Warren Buffett likes to drink Coca-Cola. Does it mean that if you drink Coca-Cola, you'll become as rich as he is? Obviously not. However, you've got to understand that billionaires have many responsibilities, many more than the average person does. And so for that reason, they are masters at managing their time. Their time management skills have to be completely on point, because there are so many things that they have to do in a day, or that they could do. And obviously, they're like the rest of us. They only have 24 hours in their day, so they cannot be working all of the time. It's not possible. And what kind of life would that even be? But typically, whereas a regular Joe might work out because they simply enjoy this type of exercise, a billionaire might work out first thing before their workday to be more focused, more productive, have a sharper mind, or maybe it helps them to be more creative, or they simply get it out of the way by doing something difficult at the beginning of the day. That's what I personally like to do. I get up around 6 and then I eat breakfast and then I go to the gym. 6 days a week I'm lifting weights, 1 day a week I'm doing some kind of cardio, usually running on a treadmill. And what I've found is that by exercising first thing in the morning, it really allows me to be a lot more productive during the rest of the day. My mind is sharper, my thoughts are clearer. It's by no means a superpower, but by doing something difficult at the beginning of the day, it builds a lot of momentum that will carry on throughout the rest of the day. When you've done an intense workout session for an hour up to an hour and a half, you don't feel like scrolling on TikTok and on social media and watching Netflix all day.
First, they text more than they call. Billionaires know the value of a dollar, and they know the value of their time more than anyone I've ever worked with.
A lot of people want to make more money. They're focused on making more money. But you need to realize that what matters more than how much money you've got in your bank account, it's how free are you? Are you in control of your time? Because at the end of the day, you could be a billionaire. There is no law in the universe preventing you from becoming a billionaire. However, you cannot become a billionaire in terms of time. You will not live up to 1 billion years old. So for that reason, time is far more valuable than money because you only have so much of it. It's a limited currency. And while you can hire employees to, technically speaking, duplicate yourself and have more time in a day, at the end of the day, you won't live up to 1 billion years old, like I said. Now you may wonder, why do billionaires text more often than they call? When you send a quick text, you get your point across very rapidly, in just a few sentences, and it takes what? A few seconds to type? But if you call somebody, you've got to greet them. There's an introduction. People are going to go for small talk. They're going to waste a lot of time speaking about unnecessary things. And billionaires have a lot of things to do. They have lots of responsibilities. They need to take care of lots of things. So they don't have time to waste all that time on a call and speak about meaningless things and do all that small talk. If you do not need to call in your business, don't call at all. It's going to crush your productivity. Now, fair enough, in some businesses, like the consulting business, you will need to take on sales meetings, but that is a completely different thing from just taking on random calls. Like if, for instance, if you've got customers and they can call you whenever they want, that is a big problem, and it is completely killing your productivity. Because now if you've got 5 different customers, 10 different customers, all calling you whenever they feel like it, on a whim, how will you have time to be focused and productive and to get the work done? You simply won't. Jeff Bezos likes to have this rule of no meetings, because in his opinion, it is a waste of time. And I read the book called The Everything Store. It details the entire story of Amazon, its beginnings and then its rise to success. And in that book, I learned that, according to Jeff Bezos, he wanted to have as little communication with the customer as possible. And now you might think, well, that's outrageous. Why not? Does he not want the customer's input? In reality, it's not that at all. But in Jeff Bezos' opinion, if the job is done correctly from the start, customers would not need to reach out to the Amazon customer support. I mean, think about it. If you just buy something on Amazon, it's delivered straight to your door within just a few days. No hiccups, no problems. Everything is done right. So you don't need to go ahead and to call or to send a message or an email to Amazon and to complain. So while a communication is great in a business with your different team members, communication with the customer, it can be a completely different thing. Because if the work is done right and it's done on time, then technically speaking, should customers need to contact you? Not really.
And you might be thinking, what? That's weird. Texting? Don't they have calls and lawyers and this, that, whole teams? I mean, yes, they have all of that. But when I'm interacting with them directly, billionaires don't have time for phone calls. Jeff Bezos, who's not in my phone, he makes $2,500 a second. A phone call that takes away time from billionaires making money is not a good use of their time. But they can fire off a text or a voice note that deletes very, very, very quickly.
And that's exactly why billionaires prefer to text as opposed to call.
I've negotiated $100 million deals over iMessage. And yet the person I work with who's trying to buy a home for $1 million calls me 62 times, has to meet with me and his family, brings in bankers, brings in attorneys, brings in everyone. Less wealthy people have an idea of what it means to be wealthy, where actual wealthy people understand that being wealthy is just about their greatest asset, which is time.
You could have as much money as you want, technically speaking. And by that I mean there's no law in the universe preventing you from physically doing it, but you don't get to choose how much time you're going to have in your life. There is in fact an average life expectancy, but when is it going to be time for you to live? You have no way to know that. So you need to carefully value your time. And I often say, value your time like a billionaire. And who better understand the value of time than a billionaire? In my opinion, nobody. The reason being, billionaires have all the money in the world. They're set for the rest of their lives, unless they blow it all on stupid stuff on a random whim. But for most of them, like I said, they are set for the rest of their lives. So what is the only thing that could potentially miss from their lives? Time. But just like everyone else. So for that reason, they know how to manage their time carefully. And one way that you can implement the same strategies that billionaires use at your own scale in your own business is to, for instance, batch tasks. To give you an example, when I'm recording a video, I don't just press record and record one video. Usually I'm going to record 2, 3, even 4 videos in one sitting. I might take breaks in between, but you get the idea. I'm not going to record a video and then to write and then to do stuff and then to do this other thing which has nothing to do with the recording. The reason is because whenever you do some kind of activity, you enter a state of flow pretty quickly. And whenever you stop that activity and you enter another activity, your brain has to switch from one state of flow to another, and they can be completely different. Think about it. Writing and recording videos, to give you an example, those two require totally different states of concentration. You're not going to use the same cognitive abilities when you're writing as when you are speaking to a camera and recording videos. So that's why if you just stay in that state of flow that you already entered to begin with. You'll be able to get work done so much faster. And also it's true that less wealthy people have many misconceptions about what it actually means to be wealthy and what an average day in their life looks like for a millionaire or even a billionaire. Like, to give you an example, the first time I went into a luxury hotel, I was literally in shock because it was a 5-star hotel and people walked up to the hotel in their pajamas. And I thought, oh my god, rich people wear suits, so I dressed very elegantly. But trust me when I say that I was the one who was the most well dressed and I wasn't the richest. So that goes to tell you, you might think that wealth is this thing in your head, but then when you get to experience it in reality, it can be a completely different thing. To give you another example, I love supercars. You'll often see me posting pictures of supercars on Instagram, for instance. And when you don't have access to those things, to luxury, to supercars, or anything like that, you might put those things on a pedestal. You think they're amazing, you really want them, you have a vision board with pictures of it, but then when you experience it in reality, you realize that stuff is absolutely amazing. It's going to blow your mind for sure, but then you're going to realize, okay, that's nice, but it is just materialistic stuff at the end of the day. And in my opinion, what matters even more than that, it's actually relationships and selling challenges for you on a daily basis that you can crush. Like personally, I find my fulfillment from setting goals for myself and then seeing that I just crush them day after day. It's making progress that makes me fulfilled.
And they are on their phones more than most people.
So really, that's the funny thing. A lot of people, myself included honestly, are going to tell you that maybe you spend too much time on your phone. Now, I don't know specifically how much time you spend on your phone every day, obviously. But for a lot of people, they spend 2 to 6 hours a day watching TV, Netflix, or simply being on their phone. Believe it or not, but the average employee on an 8-hour workday, they only really work for 3 hours. Like, how many times have I seen people just playing cards on their computers at their job? Many times. And a lot of people watching this video right now, they might have the excuse of, I can't start my own online business, I don't have enough time. Let me tell you, everyone is in the same boat when it comes to that. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. Now, fair enough, some people they can delegate, so duplicate themselves in a way, get more time, because they leverage other people's time. But at some point, nobody is going to come in to help you do your business. You have to figure things out for yourself. And when you start your business, if you don't have much money, you'll have to do all of the work yourself. But hey, that's how the game is played. If you start off at the bottom, it's going to be a tough climb to the top, and no one is going to do it for you. I had no one working for me when I first got started. I had to do all of the work myself. This means that, quite frankly, most of the time I was working Monday to Sunday, close to every waking hour. But the only reason I was able to do so is because I knew deep in my gut why I was doing it. And it wasn't only just to have nice cars or to have nice vacations. There was a much deeper reason why. And that's why, if you don't have one already, I invite you to really find out what is your why. Why are you trying to do this? Why do you want to start your business? Or if you do have a business, why do you want to grow it to the next level besides the financial motivation? So it's very surprising to learn that billionaires use their phones more than most people. However, there is one key distinction. They don't do the same things on their phone. They're not spending 6 hours a day watching TikTok videos. But when you're a billionaire, you're playing a different game, because now it's not about getting in the trenches and doing all of the work yourself day after day. When you're a billionaire, you've got people working for you. So it becomes about managing other people, making sure that other people do the right thing, do the right work. You find the right talent and then harness their efforts. When you're a billionaire or a millionaire, it becomes more about making the right decisions as opposed to sitting down behind a computer screen and doing the work for hours on end. So they are on their phones a lot more than the average person because they need to communicate with their team members.
They are experts at not wasting time. I went to dinner with my first billionaire client years and years and years ago. He ordered, the minute the waiter came over, to bring us water. There was no sitting there and reviewing the menu. There was no asking for the specials. None of that. Here's the water. Okay, I'm going to have this. And what do you want? And if you don't tell me what you want right now, I'm going to order for you. We're going to enjoy the dinner. We're going to talk. We are on a time schedule.
If you watch videos on YouTube, I'm sure you came across the concept of doing a dopamine detox. It's when people are so hyper-stimulated that they decide to cut out all stimulating activities from their lives for a certain period of time. It can be a day, a week, 28 days, it all depends. But what people do typically on a dopamine detox is that they won't watch YouTube, they won't watch Netflix, they won't even be on social media, they won't play video games, they won't eat sugar or junk food. They basically remove all pleasurable activities from their lives. And supposedly, this is meant to help them to be more productive, to get more stuff done, and to accomplish their goals faster. In reality, this doesn't always work like that. If you're interested about learning more on this topic, I've made a video on why dopamine detoxes do not work and are actually a waste of time. But when you do a dopamine detox, and I've done many myself in the past, I realized that by cutting out all of this waste from my life, all of those activities that quite frankly don't help me to achieve my goals, they don't move the needle forward in my business, to give you an example, I realized, wow, 24 hours a day, it is actually a lot of time. Now, fair enough, if you're not full-time in your business, you might still be in university, you might still have a job, you will have less time available than somebody who can work full-time on their business. But that doesn't mean that you will get less results necessarily, because in 2 to 4 hours of deep focused work per day, you can get more done than the average person does in an 8-hour workday. Remember that the average person is only really productive for 3 hours during their 8-hour workday. So right now, I really invite you to, on your phone, you download an app to see your daily screen time, and you'll often see that it might go up to even 7 hours a day. Now, if instead you used all of that time, or most of that time, you don't have to cut out social media and entertainment like Netflix or YouTube completely. But if you cut it out a bit, you might have an extra 2 to 3 hours a day, and you can use that time to start your own online business or to work on some of your other projects. At the end of the day, you only have so much time. When people say, I don't have time, in reality, what they are really saying is, this is not in my priorities. And that's fine. Not everybody has the same goals and not everyone has the same priorities. But when you tell yourself, oh, I can't do this, I can't start my business because I don't have time, or this or that, most of the time it is going to be an excuse, because maybe deep down you're afraid that if you start your business, you'll have to face some rejection, some critics, that it's going to be hard work, and it's easier to just watch Netflix, let's face it. However, if you really want to change your life, or you want to obtain a different outcome than the one you currently have, you'll have to make many sacrifices and do things that you're not used to doing. So take a look at your daily screen time and see how much time you could actually put to better use.
Billionaires are always on guard of being taken advantage of. This is also why it's hard to get in touch with billionaires. It's hard to have them as clients.
I mean, think about this. When you are a billionaire, you are at the top of society. You have the highest possible social status. And what do people want most in this world? At least it's one of those things, it's social status. And the reason why, in my opinion, is because deep down, every individual has a need to be loved and admired. And that's going to be especially true if during your childhood, when you were growing up, you did not receive much love or much attention from your parents or from your family. But even when you make 6 or 7 figures a year, you might reach the millionaire status. A lot of people, they will try to be your friends, but only to take advantage of you. Now imagine if you are a billionaire that is yet amplified. And that is why I often say that the people who were with you at the start, when you were at the bottom, you had nothing, you were quote unquote nobody, and then you succeed, and they are still with you. Those people, they are worth infinitely more than the goals themselves. Because at least you know, those people, they're here for you, because they believed in you, because they wanted to see you do better, to see you succeed. A lot of people, they don't want to see you do better than them. You know how the saying goes, right? They want to see you do well, but never better than them. And when you reach the billionaire level, a lot of people are secretly wishing for your downfall. Just imagine how many competitors would want you dead. That's why you see them walking around with bodyguards, because they cannot afford not to. When you are a billionaire, you have a gigantic target on your back. Most people would be your enemies, not your friends. Why? Because everyone is envious of your position. Everyone wants to see you fall so that they can take your seat. So that is why they have to be really careful. And it's hard to make friends because they don't actually know who is there for me, as opposed to just being there for the things that I can bring them.
Another thing I've learned from billionaires is that they understand the difference between possessions and growth. And they're not afraid to spend. Now that might sound obvious to you, but it's interesting to watch someone who has a net worth of over $1 billion be incredibly cheap over here and then overspend over here. They might kill a deal over $5 over here because they understand that this is not going to do a whole lot for their success, for their long-term growth. But they'll overspend over here by millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars because it's an investment in greater growth. Now, a lot of billionaires have very cool material goods, huge houses, planes, automobiles, trips, experiences. But if you didn't know what they looked like, you typically wouldn't notice them when you walk down the street.
That is completely true. And maybe it even happened to you. Who knows if you didn't cross a billionaire's walking down the street? At the end of the day, lots of people envy billionaires. You see these billionaire visualization videos on YouTube, but in reality, it's not made for most people. You have so many responsibilities when you are a billionaire. Yes, you might have the big houses, the private planes, but it is very difficult. Remember that when you are at the top, whether you be a billionaire, a successful business person, an athlete like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, most people want to see you fall because they want your spot. So who can you trust? It's really hard to know. Now, most of you watching this video, you don't really care about being a billionaire. You simply want to make $10,000 a month all the way up to $100,000 a month. But you're an ambitious individual and you know that you deserve a better life than the cookie cutter path that has been pushed onto you your entire life. So if you want to start your own online business, but you don't know where to start, you have no clue what to do, I have recorded a free video in which I am going to analyze every popular online business model. We take a look at the pros, at the cons, and I am also going to share with you a 3-step process that you can follow to start landing your first customers today. The link is in the description below. And with that said, as always, I am waiting for you on the other side.